figure out a good emoji.
Yes! Hello! Welcome back to another episode of the Music Guy Podcast. Episode number 43 here. And I'm pleased to be broadcasting this show to you guys from Liberty Village in Toronto, Ontario on a chillier summer's day here. We're approaching fall. Get ready for lots of fall advertisements on your radio with horrendous puns and people drinking pumpkin spice lattes. It's going to be good. My name's Al Rowe. I'm a music guy. I play guitar, I sing, I write songs, I make records. And yeah, those are the things that I do. Just putting it all together here, trying to make a career out of this whole thing. And I'm pleased to be joined, as always, by my partner in crime, co-host all the way from Whitby, Ontario, guitarist, backup vocalist, music educator, composer. Right now, just an empty shell of a human being.
I got some new analog gear. I shouldn't have bought this. I have no reason to own this.
Just, impulse buyer.
Spending money. Yeah.
Mr. Michael Hebbs. Welcome.
I feel welcome. It's cool to be doing a you and me thing again, too. I don't know. Interviews are great, but
it's been a minute.
Lots of time to rant. It has been a bit. We've done a lot of interviews.
In a way, we do have a very special guest this week, although not in the traditional sense. It's our great audience. Isn't that nice?
There we go.
Isn't that nice?
K Rose in the chat.
Because we're taking questions today. This is our Q&A episode here. It's been a while since we've done one of these. These are always some of the most fun ones that we do, I think. At least for me, selfishly. I think also for Mike, if I could speak on your behalf.
You can speak on my behalf forever. I mean, I've been speaking on your behalf on YouTube a bunch.
Yeah, and in a legal sense.
In a legal sense. Yeah. It's in a very
legally
legal
binding
way.
sense.
I've been opening credit cards for you too. That as well.
Your Honor, I wasn't aware. I plead the fifth. So we are taking questions today, and we would like to take your questions each and every week. So folks who are listening, if you have a question, serious, funny, long, short, in-depth, about music, about life, about whatever, we would encourage you guys, and we would love it if you would send it to us via our website, musicguypodcast.com, our email, musicguypodcast@gmail.com. Or you can find either myself or Mike on the various social media platforms that we occupy and hit us up with a question. We would love to answer one every week. And we're going to start a new thing as well that we'd like to do called Song of the Week. And we'd encourage folks, if you've got a song, an original tune that you've written or played on or worked on, and you have all the requisite permissions to send it for broadcast on a podcast here on the internet, send it to us, or send us a link, or send us an MP3 to our email, and we would love to check out the song. And if we like it, and we like most things, so we probably will like it, we'd be happy to include it in a future episode of the podcast. What's going on with your face?
Cameras do it. I know what's going on, but it looks really cool. Yeah. This is gonna be great for you too.
Thought I needed to call 911 for a second there.
All right, we're good. We're good now. I was just trying to like, whenever I downsize this one window on my computer, it fucks with the camera a bit.
Yeah.
But
technology.
Wow. Hey, Michael. Oh wow. Yeah, I got tagged in a question by Mark. I'm so excited.
Yeah, yeah. So we did get a bunch of questions here, and we put out a post on Facebook. We got a bunch of questions. So let's have a look at one of them here. What do we want to start with? Let's start with a question from Steve McPhee of Boots and Bourbon fame. He did sound for us for years at Boots and Bourbon, which is a great bar.
Steve.
Was a great bar in Toronto.
Now it's
Steve.
Jasper Dandy's.
Yeah, I have not been there.
You know what? I went there once and I played like a pop thing. I don't think they do country anymore. I think they barely do music too. But the setup was way better. There was no big
really?
air conditioning unit.
Oh, that
Steve
was
would be
hilarious.
Happy to know.
Oh man,
Yeah.
well that wasn't always there. I mean, what happened was their AC, they had a rooftop AC unit and it broke. And it was obviously ridiculously hot in there, even in the winter, because you get, 200 bodies on crammed in there dancing around. It gets super hot, right? So
Have you seen the chat? There's somebody spamming us.
spamming us with what?
Please say my name, Sparsh. Sparsh Bot. Is that how you say it? Am I crushing it?
Sparsh
You stop.
bot.
Yeah.
All right.
I hope
Can we
I got it
ban this
right.
guy?
Are you a listener or are you just hanging out? He's gone now.
Okay.
We
Gonna
didn't
say,
commit to his
if you don't say a
will.
real thing, I'm kicking you out.
Oh.
So any,
He's
what?
Oh, we're making this a mess.
This is
Never
great,
mind.
great audio for our for our podcast listeners. Well, we can edit that out. So anyway, so this unit broke. The rooftop AC unit broke. So they brought in a portable one. It was huge. It was about the size of a fridge, and they put it right in front of the sound booth. So now we could no longer see Steve when we're sound checking. So
Or during the show.
we'd be ordering the show, so we'd be trying to do the old pointing upwards. I need more of my vocal, or I need more of my guitar, or whatever. And it's just a disaster. He'd be like, "All right, is that good?" And I'd be like doing a hand sign. He'd be like, "I can't see you." Every time, he'd be like, "I can't see you." I'd be like, "Oh yeah." So what am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
Because you couldn't talk into the mic either, because it was like dinner hour or whatever. So we were, completely completely unable to communicate with the sound guy. Made for great sound check experiences. Anyways, big shout out to Steve. Thanks for listening to the podcast, Steve, and for asking a question. He says, "Why do you look like a young Randy Travis?" I believe he's asking me that. Why do I look like a young Randy Travis? I don't know. We're probably of similar, lineage historically. We're probably both like European. So that adds to it. He's pretty good looking. I try to stay in shape. So, those be a couple of reasons. But hopefully I look like an old Randy Travis too. I Googled some photos and, when I get older, I'd like to look like an old Randy Travis.
You know who was a handsome dude? This is a far left field thing. Saddam Hussein was, allegedly. I was listening to a podcast on him. He also wrote erotic novels at the end of his life.
Really?
He apparently was a handsome dude when he was a young guy. This guy's asking us, do we know what is BINOD?
I sure
For
don't.
the listeners out there, we sure don't. So
I sure do not.
hopefully it's not super inappropriate. But
Yeah.
we don't know what it is. Sorry. No. So being a handsome guy is nice.
Well, it's funny because in the
But,
South Park movies, there was a lot of like weird kind of sexual stuff between Saddam Hussein and the devil or something, and Satan, right?
Yes.
So maybe they were hip.
Yes.
Maybe they were hip to
His
that.
handsomeness.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm just gonna, while you're doing your thing, I'm gonna send you a photo. You answer another one of these questions.
All right. So let's move to another question here. We've got a question in the chat from fan of the show, friend of the show, Kathy Rowe, of direct relation to myself.
Direct
But
relation.
huge music fan and singer in her own right, actually. What do you know about crazy chords, i.e., the kind of chord structure that Joni Mitchell is famous for? How tough is it to cover her tunes? So, as far as I'm aware, and I don't know like a ton about this, but Joni Mitchell is pretty famous for playing in alternate tunings.
Is that because her hands messed up or something like that? That's what I heard.
I don't know I don't know that there was a physical limitation, but I think she would grab like like an instrument and sort of mess around with different tunings and see what was possible. Another band that does that a lot is the Goo Goo Dolls. John Mayer does it a bit too. He does like a lot of open tuning, not a lot, but the occasional open tune song like DAD, GAD. It's called DADGAD tuning. Or some people will do like that tuning, but down a whole step. Like Joey Landreth does that, I'm pretty sure.
Yes, he does.
DADGAD, but in C, so whatever that would be,
It's also
C,
good
G, E.
for slide.
Yeah, and it's really good for slide playing and stuff. So what you end up getting is a similar sort of chord structure and tonality to a traditional, pop music or blues sound, which would be the 1-4-5, kind of the major tonality. But you get these different kind of unique sounding voicings, is what they'd be called, where instead of like, a C chord on the guitar, for example, almost always is like a root position C is going to be C, E, G, C, E in that order, right? But in an open tuning, maybe you end up with like a couple of strings that are maybe playing the same note right next to each other, or maybe playing, notes that are very close to each other, like you're playing that C chord, but now there's also like a D in there really close to the C. One example of this that I love to use, and this isn't even a strange tuning or anything, but if you just take your C shape on the guitar and move it up 2 frets, you get this weird kind of like, it's like a D chord, but it's got a G and an F sharp in it, which shouldn't work, but it does on guitar. And so it's, that's a cool sound as well. So you end up with these cool sort of voicings, and I think it's a really fun way to bolster your creativity a little bit, because now you're working with the same, our ears are always going to pull us to the same 1-4-5 sounds, but now you're working with a different voicing, different cool sort of movements and stuff that you can do, and it breaks you out of your patterns and your shapes that you become accustomed to when you're writing on an instrument, especially like guitar. So I think that's a great way to to stimulate your creativity in your writing. Kathy's saying she had polio. So you must be right then, Mike. Maybe that
an
had
old
something to do with
school disease. I mean, also too, I feel like it almost, for me, because I don't want to say I know where everything is on the guitar, but we do at this point. Like as soon as you play something, it doesn't take you that long to be like, oh, this is why it sounds good. But when it comes to an open tuning, it almost brings back that like magic of like, oh, this sounds great, and I have no idea why.
Totally. Yeah, exactly. Yes. And sometimes you can listen to a song and within a few seconds be like, oh, they're playing G, D, and C, and it's like on this capo or whatever, and it's a little bit played out, right? But then every now and again I'll lift a song that's just the voicings, I can't pick them out by ear because I'm not used to hearing them, and it gives a song. What a cool example of that was actually Post Malone, Circles, if you know that tune.
I have not. I've listened to a few songs of his. I've not heard that song. So
the guitar part, I'm pretty sure what he's doing, based on the learning of it that I've done, is it's C, G, F is the chord progression for pretty much the whole song. But instead of playing the traditional shapes, he's got a C power chord, like 3rd fret A string, 5th fret D string, 5th fret G string, right? Like a C power chord, with the E and the B strings ringing out open. So it's kind of like a C major 7 kind of chord, right? But then what he does is he moves through, so then he moves to a G bar chord, but leaves those 2 E and B strings, the high strings, ringing open again, and then moves down to the F bar chord with the same E and B strings ringing out open. So you end up with like it's like C major 7, G 6, I guess, and then F major 7 sharp 11, which is a really grindy kind of chord. It's a jazz chord.
Yeah.
But and this is getting a little bit nerdy here, but it's like usually with a jazz chord, you're going to stack the notes so that it's like, here's the C chord.
One after another.
Then on top of that's the 7th. Then on top of that is the sharp 11. And that's sort of how that's how we're used to hearing that. That particular voicing has the sharp 11 sort of in the middle of the chord underneath the E, which is the 7th, which gives it this kind of bizarre but cool sound to it. So it's just, there's different ways to spice up the old school 1-4-5, but still have that relatable pop sound to your stuff.
That's like a good writing exercise too, to just be like, oh, I always write songs in standard, try an open tuning, or oh, I always write songs on guitar, write them on piano, you know, or write them all vocally, you know.
Yeah.
I know that that one producer, the guy, oh gosh, he does Sia. What's his name?
I don't know.
He looks like a mess. Oh, he's on that box over there. I can't read. It's too far. But he was saying he'll even write a song on bass with a singer.
That's
and
cool.
That way she can fill in the gaps in terms of the harmony.
Nice.
Cool.
Yeah, and the other thing too is like accessibility, right? Like if we're saying that Joni Mitchell had some physical limitation that didn't let her play traditional chords or whatever, like how many students have you just shown drop D tuning to, and you're just like, you can play all the power chords with one finger. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a way to like get into the instrument as well for people who are just learning, or heck, if you can't play a power chord because of for some reason, like you can change the tuning of the instrument to accommodate that as well. So I think it's a great tool to have at your disposal, and to stay open-minded about like what is possible and what is, you know, going to work for you as an artist.
That's a good idea.
All right, you want to hit
a
second
up question?
Who does?
Steve McPhee. I didn't know his last name was McPhee. I just thought it. You know, I always called him Steve.
All right.
Question number 2: why do country bands play Wagon Wheel? Question mark. Do they hate themselves? Question mark. And I mean, it's a interesting thing. What do you think, Al? Why do they?
Well, I'm going to tackle this. This is a 2-part question. I'm going to tackle it in 2 parts. Do they hate themselves? Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Especially during Wagon Wheel.
Is it related directly to Wagon Wheel? Probably not. I think just most musicians kind of just hate themselves. You know what I mean?
Yes. Oh, God. Self-loathing is my jam.
Yeah. Why do country bands play Wagon Wheel? Because it's popular and people like it. And you know what? And I will say, to the credit of Wagon Wheel, having played that song possibly more times than any other song, it's still good to me.
Yeah.
I still actually like it. Like the lyrics are good. It's interesting to sing. Like I think it's just a really good song. You know,
it's a lot better than singing "This Is How We Roll" by Florida Georgia Line.
Yeah, or Cruise.
Yeah,
pretty done with that one. Not that I'm not done with Wagon Wheel, because I am, but if I even now play, I'm like, yeah, this song slaps. You know, I'm into it.
It's the same as like I mean, it's not the same, but it is. You hear about bands like Van Morrison doesn't like to play Brown Eyed Girl anymore.
Oh,
and
God,
it's like,
yeah.
buddy, these people made your career.
Yeah.
So when you play a show, play goddamn Brown Eyed Girl, and people are gonna love it. You know?
Yeah. I remember seeing Counting Crows. I saw them live, opening from Matchbox 20, which is awesome. And they didn't play Mr. Jones. They didn't play it. Like that's their only hit.
Yes, you gotta play your hits.
Yeah.
Like obviously, like the deep cuts, sure, or like the questionable ones, sure. But you gotta be doing.
Yeah, I think so. You
Give the people what they want.
Got to dance with the date that brought you there.
Ooh,
yeah,
I like that.
Oh yeah.
Well, it's the do they hate themselves thing. I think it's kind of people do it like to feel like they've they're better than the song. It's like, you're not better than Wagon Wheel. What the fuck are you talking about?
No,
man?
you play Wagon Wheel because that's what the job is. That's what you're there to do.
Yeah.
You're there to play
They're
Wagon
not there
Wheel,
to see you.
Chicken Fried, Cruise,
Yeah.
all the trope tunes. Like, that's what people want to hear.
But if you play Wagon Wheel during an original set,
Oof.
that would be kind of funny.
Oh, don't
like
do that.
that's a no-no. You know, if you're playing an original set, I feel like the covers got to be like a reflection of you as an artist. You know.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? Like, it's your stage. It's your 15 minutes. Like, do whatever you want. But I would always recommend people play covers that are either by an artist of like a different gender, perhaps. Like, if you're like that's a move that I like to make is I'll do a song by like a female artist, and that way it's easier to make it your own, or play a cover that's a little bit below the surface, such that people could like mistake it for being your own tune.
Sure.
Um,
Or like something that people have forgotten about. You know what I mean? Like I always like when I'm like, oh shit, I forgot about that song. Like when you played Torn, I was like, oh, Torn from who's it by?
Natalie and Bruglia. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, that was a jam back in the day, you know?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But don't play like fucking Don't Stop Believing.
Yeah, and that's a great point. Finding those gem tunes where people are like, oh yeah, I haven't heard this song in like 10 years. It's sick. Yeah. And when you can really like strike that chord, for no pun intended, but when you can hit that note, with powerful people, it's really it really is a nice thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
It really adds to the live show.
This next question is pretty amazing. Would you like to read out what it is?
Okay, we're talking about, so Rich DeSilva, friend of the show, excellent drummer. He's asked a pile of questions here. We'll see how many of them we can get to. Line 6 Spider or PV Rage? Talking about guitar amps here. I don't know what the PV Rage is, but I can imagine what it is.
Will had. The little tiny one. They're both digital amps.
I gave him that amp.
Significantly older. Oh, really?
Isn't it a Bandit?
That might be the PV.
Isn't that a PV Bandit?
I have no idea.
Or maybe
all
the
I know
Bandit's
is
the good one.
What's his face called it PV Wonder, which is pretty funny.
That is funny. Go ahead. What's your take? Yeah. You're the resident guitar
Lines
expert.
Lines Spider is a much newer amp. I mean, if it's the right thing I'm thinking about, the Line 6 Spider for a starter amp is very fun. It's got lots of effects on it, so you can like get into it. And like, to be honest, if I had to play a show with one, it'd be fine. The PV Rage is pretty much just like a digital amp with distortion. It's fine.
So I mean, your strategy with the PV Rage would be to probably just clean it up as much as you can and just drive it with pedals, right?
There is a PV amp that people, I can't remember. There's a few of them.
Might be the Bandit.
All about.
Well, the thing about the solid state clean amps, I think, is for like the really fast picking traditional players, the traditional guitar players, is like the response of a solid state amp is faster than a tube amp. Like when you're playing fast, the notes come out like more clear. Like, and we're talking about like, when you're playing like 200 kilometers an hour. Like I'm not reaching speeds where this affects me, but for people who are like,
But I know I saw in a few like session players from the 80s, like they'd have these big stacks of like heads of PVs.
Yeah.
And they would, well, not of PVs, but PV was one of the ones in it. It's like, cool. Good for you. I'm just rocking that Line 6 Helix, baby.
Well, here's the thing about the Spider. Not to be a Line 6 shill, but I feel like I am one because I just love their company. Love to have you on the show, Line 6. Please sponsor us.
Love to have some of your shit. Just hook me up.
No, but so the Spider 4 or whatever, like the newest Spider amp, maybe it's not even the 4, maybe it's newer than that, has the Helix sounds in it. Yeah.
What?
Yeah. So, yes. I'm sure it's like a limited offering of what the full range Helix will give you, but you're right, as a starting player, you can dial in all kinds of tones, have fun with it, and then, I mean, if it's got a direct out, and it's essentially partially a Helix brain, then you could just record straight to your computer with it. I'm not sure if it does have that, but I imagine it would, because they think of things like that. So I would go Spider all the way, but I got mad respect for PV. I used to have a 5150, and it was dope.
I'm trying to think which one that was.
That's like the Van Halen amp.
Oh, yeah. Like that's a great amp.
Yeah,
Like,
and then of course the little practice amp that I gave to Will. It sounds great. It's a little clean amp. It's great.
yeah, it's fine.
All right, you want to tackle the next question here?
When should someone start charging more money for their services? That is a
Ooh.
good question. I don't feel qualified to answer it. What do you think, Al? When would you start charging more money for your webcam
Well, this
shows
question
or
also
your
coming from
OnlyFans?
Rich. I mean, for my OnlyFans. Well, if you look at like, I'm gonna look at Long and McQuaid as an example, which is the company that I teach underneath. I'm not like technically an employee, but I am a contractor. And so every year my contract renews with them. And I think every other year I'm given the opportunity to raise my rate by like $1 per, I think it's per hour. I think
Not
it's
bad.
per half hour. Or is it, might be per hour. I actually don't know. But so, you know, every other year I'll be like, yeah, like I want to raise, you know, I'm not going to say no. You know,
Yeah, what's the context in which you'd be like, nah, I'm good.
well, I
don't
remember
like
actually the
money."
first time I got that, like when I didn't know a lot about working there, and they said that, they're like, would you like to increase your rate this year? I was like, is this a trick question? Like I called my manager, I was like, what are you asking me here? Like, yes, I do, but like, why is this? What is this? Like, I just remember being like, what? And he said, well, most people will want to, but keep in mind that other teachers who've been teaching here for less time will have lower rates than you, and therefore you might not get as many students applying to you
Sure.
if you're
Yeah,
a few
yeah.
dollars more expensive or whatever. So there's always a give and take. But I mean, looking at that model, because if you think about inflation, right, every year
Yeah.
the value of $1 goes down, right? Gas gets more expensive, except when there's a pandemic. Rent gets more expensive, groceries get more expensive, so $1 buys you less every year. Really, like, you know, in fractions every minute of every day, right? Like the value of money is diminishing. So I think from like a business's perspective, they're going to increase the rates of their products probably, I would think, annually, and people are you know, getting opportunity for raises annually. So I think it'd be a good idea to take a look back at your year that you've had and decide, because every gig's different. You're going to charge differently based on what's happening, based on what sometimes people just offer you a ton of money and you're like, sweet. Sometimes you might turn some stuff down. So just taking stock of that year and say, okay, these are the gigs that I really enjoyed doing. This is how much I charged for them. These are the ones that I turned down because I didn't think it was enough money. Looking back on that, was that a good idea? Was it not? These are the gigs that I didn't get because I asked for too much or there was some other reason.
Yeah.
You know, and just take stock of that and decide if you want to bump it up. And if you do, I would go in small increments. It really depends on what we're talking about. But it's like, you know, if you were charging $100 a gig as a side musician for the last couple of years and you've been working a lot and
You're too busy.
you're getting busier and whatever,
Yeah.
like you can go to your artists and say, listen, like I'm hoping you can do 120 or 125 this year just because, you know, cost of
still wanna
living
play
is
with you.
going up and I'd really still
Yeah.
like to play with you and blah. But I think more realistically what happens is as you get new clients, you start charging them your new price, and the old clients,
Yeah.
you usually kind of keep the old price. That's just kind of how it seems to go. But
One thing I remember from the Sean Giovanni podcast was he was saying when he got new gear, especially for like producer stuff, like I feel like if you're making like a drastic hike in your rate, you know, if you buy like a U87 and you know the whole time you were recording with like an NT2A, I feel like that's a pretty good justification to be like, I'm gonna add like $200 extra on top of each song that I record, you know?
Sure, yeah,
Um,
or an extra $15 an hour or whatever it's going to be, however
yeah.
you try.
Yeah.
That's true. Bringing that value there, be like, this is why we've got better
Yep.
gear now,
Yep.
you know, or
Yep.
I've got this. If you got your master's in music, for example, and you've been teaching privately, you can say to your clients or your students,
Yep.
I got my master's. I'm going to raise my rate a little bit because I have my master's now. You're getting I'm a better teacher. I know more than I did before.
Yeah.
And so, but I think that usually what happens with me is I just kind of like test the waters on a new client. If I've been working in, let's say, gigging or whatever for a bit, and you know, a new client comes by and it's like, all right, well, I would have asked for you know, $50 an hour for a private lesson. I'm gonna ask for 60 because you know, this is a new student and it's been a year since I've taken on a new student or whatever. So that only sort of makes sense with my own increased cost of living. So I think as long as you have a good rationale for it in, you know, in your own heart about like why you're making that rate increase and you're not just trying to rip people off, then I think it's reasonable.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you have anything to add?
I mean that's it. I mean I in the same way. I feel like more not aggressive, but more business minded individuals would go to their old clients and be like, yeah, you know, this is my rate now, and like I'm gonna increase it and, you know, negotiate there, but I'm pretty much the same. You know, I'm expecting that it's gonna raise. But say for instance, if I, you know, went from being like, okay, I'm playing these cover gigs and a cover gig's 120, and now I want, you know, 160 a gig. That's a pretty heavy jump. So I'd only expect new people to give me that, and then, you know, maybe my old clients you would eventually get up there. The hope is, because if you're playing with someone for 10 years and you've made the same amount of money the whole time, that's a no-no. You know, you've fucked up. You've done something wrong.
Sure.
You're not getting better, or you're not, you know. I mean, if you're not getting better, you know, there's no reason for them to pay you more.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, people should also respect that. Like, if you're working with good people, they're gonna respect the fact that, like, you know, cost of living increases over time. Like,
True.
yeah, we've been doing this for 5 years. It's like hopefully they'll just sort of, hopefully they'll offer you more as you play more shows. But yeah, I mean, I think it depends on what service we're talking about. But I think usually, if it's like teaching, you know, test the waters a little bit on maybe some new clients that are coming into you without, you know, blanket emailing your current clients and being like, look, I'm raising my rates by this much. You might get some backlash there. I would maybe say, you know, okay, got a couple new students coming in. I'm going to try 60 an hour instead of 50 and see if they go for it. And if there's no problems, if people are like, oh yeah, that's great, that sounds reasonable, and then you start teaching them and everything's fine. As you accrue more students at that price point, you can go back to maybe some of your old students and be like, look, like, cost of living's increasing. I'm going to increase my rate. Maybe you go, you know, they go to 55, not 60, but there's something there, and you know, in a respectful way. And they should be fine with that. And then at least if they're not, you have some new clients on board, and you know that you can get the rate that you need from new clients because you've tested the water out. So if you lose some students, then, you know, you're confident that you can find some more. But if you've only got 5 students and you just hit them all with an email at the end of the year being like, I'm going up $10, and then you lose 3 of them, then that hurts your bottom line a lot, right? So
yeah, I think that's important. If you're busy, then like if you are fully booked and you don't have a spare minute for another client, that's a good sign that you need to hike your raise up, and you're going to lose people. Like that's one of the things that Sean Giovanni has said as well, the Nashville record producer. What one was he? Was he episode 32? He's owner of like a big Nashville studio.
Yeah, it might have
his
been 31.
Whole thing, was you're gonna have some of his clients, you know, he started off first song he did was free, or it was $15 an hour, and then they were just looking for a deal, so they didn't really care who they worked with. And when he raised his rates a little bit, they kind of pieced out. But it's like, well, you don't want those clients, you know? You don't want the people who are just looking for the no-name brand of, you know, production. You want people that are like, I'm coming to Al because Al Rowe is, he looks like Randy Travis, and I hope he takes me on a date.
Well, you do want those clients when you're just getting started, because you need the experience and you need the demo reel. So now, I mean, if we're talking about recording, but even with teaching too, not that you're going to teach for free, but like you need people that will refer you to other clients. So you can't right out the gate be charging, full pop for stuff, because you need that word of mouth and you need
also,
that portfolio.
Suck.
Yeah, and you're probably not that good.
You start teaching. I was the worst teacher when I started, man.
Yeah.
Like, I was so bad at teaching.
Yeah.
I mean, what can you do?
But I think if you're looking at it from like a cold business perspective, and I think you brought up a good point there, Mike, is like, if you're super busy already, then you can afford the risk that you're going to lose some people. But also, hopefully if it's a respectful ask on your end in terms of the rate increase, that you'll be okay potentially losing some people and then getting some other folks on board with the new rate. So, you got to kind of look at it a little bit like that, like risk assessment, and also consider what your clients can afford and what position they're in too, right? Because if you know that they can't afford it and you go ahead and ask them for it, that's a little bit disrespectful, I think. So you're
shooting yourself in the foot.
Yeah, and you don't want to come across as selfish or anything like that either. And we're all doing what we got to do. And if you need to raise your rates, you need to raise your rates. But at that point, it might be worth sort of saying to the person, look, I need to raise my rates because my rent just went up and my whatever just went up, and I just bought some new gear, and I know that that might be rough for you. Like, I would still love to work with you if I have some openings, or here's my friend who's just who's been doing it for a year, and I think they're really great, and you might also, and just give them that option maybe, and don't just be like, I got to do what's best for me, I need this much. It's like you got to understand where other people are coming from too, I think. But
that's a good point. You were saying about the idea of what can the person afford. So this is a situation, and so I won't give too many details because maybe the person's listening and maybe they'll know that I'm talking about them. But I've seen with multiple people, but one particular person, and they played, they were original artists. They played maybe one show, maybe two shows with their original music, and paying all their guys really well. I respect that.
Yeah.
They didn't make any money on their show. And it's not you, to be clear, Al. You played multiple shows.
All this criteria does apply to me, though.
Well, you've played multiple original shows, right?
Yeah.
I've played one of them with you. Will's played a ton of them with you.
Yeah.
So this person,
and I paid my guys super well, and I made no money.
Yeah, and this is the thing, right? Which is cool. But so with this person, they had a massive band, like horn section and all that stuff, and they never played a show again after that. And it's like, I would rather say to that person, you know what, on this show, I would rather play like a ton of shows with that person and build something to get to the point that they could, pay me that $250. Mm-hmm. Because I've seen people too who they play with original artists and they're like, this is what my rate is. And I've spoken to a few of those original artists. They're like, is this fair? And I've been like, me personally, like, you're going to bankrupt yourself and then you won't have a career. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like you want to give them a rate that's like, yeah, this is like not nothing. And like this, I'm investing in you, and a year's time you can get me closer to that rate. But if you're like, yeah, every original show I do is $300, and the person blindly gives you that $300, they'll play one or two shows, and they'll be like, I can't afford to play any more shows.
Sure. Yeah. So, if we're talking about the business of live shows as a side musician, there's a couple different ways to approach that. I mean, sometimes you just take the money because it's like, this is what I charge, and they want to, they want to hire me, and it's cool. Like, I don't know this person super well, but I'm happy for the work, and I'm down, right? But it's like, there's also there can also be projects where it's like, you really want to, like you said, help build something, and it's an original thing, and it's like, I think we've talked about this before. Like, if I know that everybody involved in the gig is sort of getting the same amount, then I don't really care what that amount is. But as soon as I feel like I'm getting underpaid because the artist, like, we're headlining some festival somewhere and they're like, yeah, I could only do 150, man. It's like,
Yes.
what? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
as soon as it starts to feel like there's an imbalance there, I think, in terms of what's happening. But if we're playing a club to like 25 people and we're all really psyched about the tunes, it's like, I'm not, you know, you're not gonna hang somebody out to dry on the money side of it, right? So it's all about what's fair and what's sort of happening and defining your expectations and being upfront too. We've talked about that before as well. It's like coming into a gig and be like, listen, this is how much I can afford, and I'm like, I understand it's not what you normally get, but whatever. It's like, no, it's cool, whatever. I'm free that night. Let's do it. You know,
you can either do it or not do it.
Yeah.
One of the things too is if I trust the person. I've heard stories of a certain person who was, you know, trying to get a rate from someone, and like being like, you're already on this show, so could you play my gig for, you know, this amount? And then while they were like messaging another person and trying to sort of like pin them against each other, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, none of that, you know, I'm not going to work with you in that way.
It's not really how it works. I mean, you can do that with, you know, Walmart or whatever, but this is like this is a person to person kind of business. So I think people have to be sensitive to that. Yeah. And the one other thing I think is important to mention too is like, if you are going to give somebody a break, like you can always say, look, this is what I normally charge. But because of this, and this, I'm willing to do it for this. And
John Giovanni said that as well.
I'm cool with that, you know, and you have to be cool with that. You can't walk away from that situation and be bitter about it. Like if you take the gig, that's your gig, and be psyched that you have it, because we're all very lucky to have work, you know, and that's cool. So, you know, there is no obviously hard and fast rule to answer this question, and we've gone on at length, but I think I think communication is important, and accountability and honesty is important.
One more thing, Sean Giovanni did say that. You know what he does with the people that he does the lower rate or the zero thing is he sends them, he said in the episode, he sends them an invoice afterwards with the price that he would charge, and then 100% discount. Saying, this is how much it would have been, but I'm giving you a deal. Like, you understand this. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So that's a good one.
And there are reasons for, as we said, wanting to do that. But yeah, like making it clear that this is what the person is getting. This is how much value you're getting. Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we've covered that in a way that makes sense and comes across the way that we intended it to. All right, now, a little bit of a lighter question here, also from Rich. What brand of black T-shirts will get you the best gigs?
Ooh, this is something that I'm torn about. I always wear shirts that are too tight, man. Gotta stop doing that.
What's your brand of choice?
Thinner man. H&M Divided.
Right.
So not just H&M. Right. The Divided shirts.
You took a step up.
Well, I don't know if it's up or down, but it just seems to be the Divided ones are the shit. That's why I'm so successful and why I'm not working right now.
I'm wearing an H&M shirt right now, actually. This is the Tri-Blend.
Really?
Tri-Blend V-neck T-shirt. It's not black, though. Obviously, you can't get Tri-Blend in black, but I think that looks really good. I was an H&M guy for a long time. I think I'm a Zara guy right now. I bought most of my clothes there.
Zara's the shit.
Yeah, they got these cool tees that, like, they aren't V-neck tees, but they've got there's a certain fit that they have that looks really cool, I think, and they're not, you know, the typical kind of, what would you call, like a crew cut T-shirt? Is that what you call it?
I don't know anything about fashion.
Yeah.
All I know is I've been told I wear, like, I want to have a tightish form-fitting shirt, but I actually have been fucking around with a black shirt that's really big. Like, I have an extra large shirt, black shirt that I bought from Talese. It's actually a Calvin Klein shirt. It was pretty cheap, which was dope. But and you know, you French tuck that bad boy, so not all the way tucked around. And I'm excited to rock that on a gig.
Nice.
You know,
when
I get one.
Underrated shirts actually are the Walmart basic T-shirts. They've got kind of, I can't remember the name of it, but it's like, you know, it's the same, probably exactly the same shirts that H&M's selling you too. It's like their own, you know, made in the same warehouse or whatever. But like
Same sweatshop.
yes. But anyways, underrated, pretty decent, cheap. They're like $7 or whatever. It's good. It's a good spot to be. But I think, you know what? I think a lot of guys have been and side musicians have been branching out from the black on black. I've seen more. I've been seeing more color lately, and I've been trying to wear more color. It's been nice. It's been nice.
Yeah, it's true. I do need to pay more attention. That is the promise that I've made to myself when things return, is that I'm going to actually, for every gig, pay attention to outfits, and I'm going to look real dope.
How about accessories? Where do you get your accessories? You got good accessories. I don't have good accessories.
Yeah, I was getting them from H&M, and I remember back in the day when I was real bold with my fashion. And I was getting them from like weird thrift shops and like Kensington and stuff like that. I had some crazy wacky belts, but now I'm just H&M. Like I just need to have something on my wrist to be like I showed up.
I made an effort.
Yeah.
We got a cool. I got a cool bracelet from. You might have been there actually when we were in Ottawa. And we walked around the downtown area of Ottawa when we were playing Crazy Horse. And there was like a stand outside. Maybe you weren't there. I think Holt was there. Anyways, there's these little like little leather bead sort of things, like very, very hardened leather little beads on a bracelet. It's pretty cool. It broke though, so. But if you can find those unique little things, you know, it's real nice.
I would like to up my accessory game, but I'm not going to. I need to up my clothing game before I get into odds and ends. That's like upping your cable game if you don't have any pedals. If you lock in like I don't even know. What are shitty pedals? I haven't experienced though.
Well,
the Metal Zone? The Metal Zone I never liked.
People like that one.
Zone?
Yeah.
Yeah. I know people like the orange one that was on a lot of punk records.
The OD2? Right? Yeah.
That isn't it the yellow one?
Maybe that's the yellow one.
I thought was yellow, and then the distortion was orange, and then the Metal Zone was black with orange writing.
Okay. I'm picturing it. Yeah. Yeah.
But to be honest, distortion by itself, like, have you ever listened to a distortion pedal shootout?
No, I don't have the patience for that.
Yeah, well, so for me, when I was buying all my stuff, I'm like, I'm going to find the best distortion. Doesn't exist. That idea is flawed, but I listened to a distortion shootout, and it just doesn't sound good. You know, like, by itself, distortion guitar, you know, like, if you just listen to 30 different ones of it, it's like, all of these kind of don't sound good. It's like the context that makes them good, you know?
The only time I've watched shootout videos is with, like, vintage gear versus new gear that's trying to emulate it to see how close they can get. I find that mildly interesting to a point, but really I don't have the patience.
It also depends on the method in which they do them, right?
You can get great tone. You can get great tone out of anything, man.
This is true, 100%.
And a good guitar is going to go way further than any of the other elements, in my opinion, especially with digital stuff now. Digital, you just have access to all the tones ever.
Yeah.
Just get a really good guitar and go from there.
Dude, if I had the full Helix, like, because I have the Stomp just like you, you know, there's a track where they have a telly on it, and I'm convinced if I had more blocks to mess around with the tone and make, you know, my Strat brighter, and make it more like compressed and all that stuff, I think I could make a Strat sound like a telly. It's just, you know, you only have like 6 blocks on Helix. So.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah, they do limit you a little bit. Yeah.
Those fucks.
So anyways, that's our fashion advice, which ended up being gear advice. So don't look to us for fashion advice. All right. What else can we get to here?
Boxers or briefs? From Steve McPhee. I have seen the G string on stage when you turned around. What are your top choices?
More chirps from Steve. It's boxer briefs, and it's not close. And anybody who wears underwear will tell you that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I accidentally bought briefs, and I'm still wearing them just because I'm cheap.
Right.
Like, I bought a bag thinking they were boxer briefs.
And you're so disappointed.
Yeah, it's too contained. You know?
And then you're like, I have to wear these for their lifespan because I spent the money on them. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel you, man.
Which is their lifespan is too long because
sure.
Don't replace clothing.
No, God no. Been wearing the same clothes for like 10 years.
Oh my God. I have certain shirts that I've been wearing since I was like 18, man. Like, some of my like gym shirts are just riddled with holes.
Yeah. Sure. Well, gym clothes, whatever.
Yeah.
All right. How long have we been going for here? Oh, not that long, actually. Yeah. All right. So another question from our friend Rich. How do you balance taking work that you're passionate about with work that you need because it pays the bills?
The bills.
Those bills, baby. I mean, Serb's been paying my bills lately, so I can take all the passion gigs I want.
Justin Trudeau's just been sliding money right into my pocket.
Yeah, baby.
I don't know. It's a good question. I feel like if you had, like, he's a successful dude. Rich is more successful than me, much more. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So
same.
Like, I feel like you have a diversity of incomes. Like, someday this podcast may make us money. And then, like the fact that you guys produce, I think that makes you more flexible to be able to take better gigs. Because it's like, well, if I don't take this gig, I'm going to be producing, and I'm going to do that on a Tuesday. And, you can't play a gig usually on a Tuesday and stuff like that. Like, I think that's my only strategy is just have a diversity of income. And not just because if you're there's a few players that I know of that are only players and they've only ever been players and they don't, like, their whole thing is I don't teach, I don't work a job, I just do gigs, and they literally take every single gig that they can. I'm not a big fan of that unless you live in Nashville or like you're really busy with good stuff. I don't think that that's a good right out the gate strategy.
I mean, it's gonna vary for everybody. Like I would approach it from this angle, and this is kind of cheesy, but like I feel very privileged in the sense that every gig or like work contract or whatever that I undertake, I do have a passion for in different ways, right? But like even, for example, the wedding gigs that we take, that a lot of people be like, oh, wedding gigs, whatever, it's just pays the bills or whatever. It's like, well, it's actually sweet because I'm in this band with a lot of people that I really like, and I'm really feel really inspired to play my best and do my best and whatever. And like it doesn't feel like a slog to me. Like I would get on stage tomorrow and play a wedding gig. Like give me any gig. It's been so long.
Yeah, at this point,
you know what I mean. But I think there's and actually I think Rich would probably agree with this and would be and he's quite good at this in his own right. But it's like, find the passion for the work that you have.
Yeah.
Put some effort.
Also make it better.
Yeah, like put some effort in on your end to make it better, to make it more enjoyable for yourself, rather than sort of looking at this gig or that gig. It's like, I just take this gig for the money. I mean, we don't do this for the money. If we wanted money, we would have worked for a bank. You know what I mean? Like, so find that. I would encourage people to sort of try to do that a little bit. But I mean, in the broader sense of just like, when are you going to do like how do I balance, for example, taking gigs for my own original music that pay no money versus, taking a wedding gig to pay the rent? It's a bit of a balancing act. You got to be smart with your money. You've got to save. You've got to be prepared for, like if you're the person who's living like month to month, you barely have enough money to cover your rent. You don't have the option where if like a festival wants to take you on as a original artist, but you had a wedding gig that night that paid $400, you can't take that festival gig because you need that money too badly. Whereas if you're ahead by a couple months on your expenses, you can take a hard look at that and be like, okay, is this worth doing? Maybe I take this off. And it's like, okay, well, next month I'm going to have to, do a little bit extra or pick up an extra teaching shift to make up for it or whatever. But like, you can make those plans. But if you're right down to the, if you're an overdraft every month or whatever, then you don't get to make those decisions. So, I I would say there's a bit of an element of that, and I think there's also just a bit of an element of just like enjoy music, man. It's fun. All this stuff that we do is super fun, and I love it. So that's my take on it.
With your wedding gigs though, if you were doing wedding gigs, I mean 6 days a week, you'd be making pretty damn good money.
Yeah, man.
I don't think you'd be too upset about it. But if you were only able to do wedding gigs, you couldn't get any gigs doing your own music because you didn't have the hustle, you know. You'd be depressed, you know. You'd be like, this is what I'm worth, you know, just playing weddings only.
Yeah.
I think it's like you should be pursuing many things, you know. That's what we're doing, you know. And I still get bummed out. I'm like, ugh, you know. But I think this podcast has brought a lot of meaning to everything, and you know, the fact that it's side guy stuff and production, you know.
Yeah.
And your point about money too. I feel like if you're living month to month, then you know, fuck you got bigger problems, you know.
Yeah, and you know, not to like, we're not trying to slag on anybody, but I just think that gives you that option to decide what you want to do or what you don't want to do. So
your first goal is to get out of that hole.
I would make that a huge priority. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you've bought the luxury of being able to be choosy.
Precisely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Precisely.
I love that.
Yeah, I love it. All right.
I want some more of it.
I think we've hit that one up. All right, let's jump to a different writer here. RJ Satchathananthan, our guest from a couple of episodes past. Limited or constructed magic, he asks.
I don't know what any of those are. Witchcraft is not my thing.
Okay, well, I mean, it's obviously it's always limited. It's not even close for me, anyways. It's way more fun. Drafting's the best. It's different every time. It's got great replayability. If people are interested in watching Limited Magic, come by my stream, twitch.tv/AlRoadMusic. See how fun it is. But if you like constructed, that's fine too, I guess. When I showed you the game, Mike, we did a draft. So that's what Limited is.
It was fun. You know what it felt like, though, to me? It's like the experience that I had with StarCraft. And most games that come out now, you know, you've been playing Magic your whole life. So I think it's not as difficult for you to keep up. Like, I don't... Obviously, you know, you spend your time nerding out and researching stuff. But I think in order for me to get competitive in that game and really enjoy it, I would really have to research some stuff, you know? I don't want to do that. Like StarCraft, man, I couldn't just casually play it, you know? Because you just get stomped.
Yeah.
But
it does take there is a bit of a barrier to entry, but you know, the other nice thing with Limited is you're only working with one set at a time. So there isn't 20 years of history that you need to know to get into it. You're working with one set at a time, whatever's out right now. So there is, you know, a lot of like theory or whatever in like terms of like what tends to work and what tends to not work in terms of strategy and stuff like that. But it, you know, you could learn one set of cards.
That is very true.
So that's, I mean, that's the other thing for Limited, whereas some of the constructed formats are using, you know, 20 years worth of Magic cards. Anyways, enough Magic card talk. I could go on all podcast.
There's an important question that you missed, actually.
Go ahead. Hit me.
It's also by Rich DeSilva.
Okay.
You can tell he's really taking this seriously.
Yeah.
What brand of chips goes best with a sandwich at lunch? This is a dig at Al.
Yeah.
And what type of bread should the sandwich be?
All right. Well, do you want to hit this, or do you want me to hit this?
I don't really have a lot of sandwiches, so
yeah, you eat very clean. Okay, so the best chips are Doritos Sweet Chili Heat. It's not even close.
Really?
Yeah.
I like ranch, man.
You like Doritos Ranch?
Yeah.
Okay, but now let's power rank the chip brands though. Are Doritos are Doritos the number one chip overall?
Ooh.
Like versus Lay's or whatever else.
I'm not a big fan of Lay's. Lay's are like a weak version of Miss Vicky's. You know?
yeah, you're a Miss Vicky's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Miss Vicky's like stings, you know?
Yeah, it hurts. Yeah.
Like it actually
It's good.
hurts
Bites
to
back.
eat. I kind of like it.
Yeah.
You know? I would Doritos is its own thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Doritos, I love Doritos. Nothing can compare to that. You know, but
Yeah.
Doritos and Miss Vicky's are totally opposite. You can eat Doritos until you're fucking sick.
Yeah.
You do that with Miss Vicky's, your tongue is cut up and sad.
That's true.
You know?
Yeah.
You know what's another good one though? There's a brand that does Korean barbecue chips.
Ooh.
And they're like, I don't want to say they're fancy, but they're good. I can't remember what the brand is. Check them out though. Purple Bag Korean barbecue chips. They're like in grocery stores in Ontario. They're the shit.
Nice.
What about you? What's your power rankings?
I mean, well, it would be. I see. I'm not a huge kettle chip guy, so Miss Vicky's for
Yeah.
me is not
too rough.
really up there. It's very greasy. I don't like that
Sure,
feeling.
sure.
I like corn chips a whole lot more than I like potato
Yeah.
chips. Yeah. So
Yeah.
for me, it'd be like Doritos. But if we're gonna get into like potato chips, Uncle Ray's barbecue, which I think is only sold in Northern Ontario, is
Don't know
so good. And if you can't get that, then Lay's barbecue is okay as well.
Ruffles? I like Ruffles too.
Ruffles are
Ruffles are good.
nah, I don't know.
They're
Not-
fine.
yeah.
They're acceptable. You
Yeah,
know,
they're
they don't
fine.
compare to Miss Vicky's to me.
Yeah, I'd
Right.
have met Miss
Yeah.
Vicky's before I'd have Ruffles, I think.
I do find that Miss Vicky's kind of make my tongue hurt too.
Yeah.
Doritos, I can really have a lot and like regret. You know?
So, yeah, I mean, the best Doritos flavor for my money is sweet chili heat, followed by jalapeno cheddar, but it's not close though. Sweet chili heat is way
close.
better. No. And then, maybe after that would be like just the regular cheese one. And
The
then
regular
there's-
cheese one's solid chip.
yeah,
man.
it's solid. And then there's whatever other ones they've got. What kind of bread should your sandwich be on? I like bread, I want to believe that it's good for me, even though I know it's not, but I want to feel like I'm eating something healthy. So I want the ones with like the grains in it, 12 grain. Been rocking Dempster's Ancient Grain.
Yes. That's
lately?
a solid one.
Yeah. So at least like, if you're just eating straight white bread or like brown bread or whatever,
Wonder bread?
that's not good. I don't like that.
If you're
Except for
eating
grilled
Wonder
cheese.
Bread, man, like it's not. I think it's more expensive to buy whole grain bread, obviously.
Sure.
But if it's not a money thing, if it's like, oh, I like white bread more, it's like, is it really that much better? Unless it's like an Italian,
Yeah, an Italian
like, baguette or
crusty kind of
something.
loaf or something that's real
Yeah.
good. Or potato
Come
buns,
on.
like for burgers, right? Like
Potato
brioche kind of potato bun. Those are so good. The last time I had Wonder Bread
Oh.
actually was I actually bought a bag of Wonder Bread, which is obviously very on brand with who I am. On the exterior, but I actually don't buy Wonder Bread, but I did buy it as a starter to make a starter paste for burger patties. So here's what you do. You take, I think it's 2 pieces of white Wonder Bread. You take the crusts off. So this is like full on white dude here. Okay. Take the crusts off and then you break it up into little pieces. You put it into a bowl with milk, Worcestershire sauce, a little bit of ketchup, and maybe garlic also, probably garlic. And you mash it all together and it turns into this gooey, gross looking paste, right? And then you put your beef in that, you mix that with the beef, and then you make your patties, and they're so juicy on the grill. They never get dried out. Yeah. So there you go.
The fact that bread turns into a paste
Yeah.
disgusts
Is
me.
a telling thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fair.
The fact that certain ice creams don't melt as well.
Ooh, like
That's
what?
a bad sign.
Which ones?
That there are certain ice creams that do not melt.
That's
because
weird.
They're that chemical. That's rough.
Yeah.
Shouldn't be putting that in there. You know?
Yeah.
Don't you put it in your mouth if it don't look good to eat. Okay, well that's that.
Yeah, I think
that's the definitive answer.
I think we hit it up. Yeah.
Ooh, is this from your lady? This is a question from your lady?
Oh yeah, Katie Marenzel.
Okay. So who is your second favorite drummer? And is it Rich DeSilva? Who's your number one favorite drummer?
Well, I think that's the dig. That's the internal dig of that
Yeah.
question.
Yeah, I mean,
Who is it for you?
I, I mean, I don't know. I like drummers on certain songs. Like Steve Jordan on Continuum is like everything I want it to be, and also that live John Mayer album, live Where the Light Is. That's pretty amazing when he does the trio.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
other
Steve
than
is
that,
Steve
I
is
really
dope.
like what's his name? Oh gosh, the guy from Toto on Rosanna.
Yep.
It's like track to
Porcaro.
track for me. Like Rosanna, yeah, Jeff Porcaro kind of is in line with what I like feel like as a musician in terms of like what I would want to be someday.
Yeah. I'll give you some. Well, my favorite drummer used to be Chad Smith. Chad Smith from the Chili Peppers.
Oh, from yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Their stuff feels great.
Yeah.
Travis Barker, Blink-182 was amazing too.
Yeah,
you know?
he inspired a lot of young drummers. I'll give you an underrated drummer. Because I obviously love Steve Jordan, love Aaron Sterling as well.
Yeah.
But underrated drummer, Jimmy Chamberlain from Smashing Pumpkins.
I don't know anything about him.
Okay,
Tell
well, if
me
you
more.
want to hear some sick drumming, the record that I know the best is called... Is it Siamese Dream? It's called Siamese Dream by Smashing Pumpkins.
Sounds familiar, yeah.
Sick drumming. So that's maybe an underrated one. I love Dave Grohl's drumming. I love Taylor Hawkins' drumming.
There is like a mythology behind Dave Grohl.
Yeah.
His drumming. that
He's
is cool.
very, very good.
Yeah.
Who else? Let's see. There was one other one. Oh yeah, the drummer for Paramore. If you're into like rock
Really?
drumming, yeah.
I loved Paramore when I listened to
If you're
her.
into
I mean,
rock drumming, the drummer for Paramore is sick,
this shit.
real good. So, anyways, there's a little handful.
The point to take away from this is that you're not even on my fucking radar, Rich. So fuck off. I know that you didn't ask this question, but this is gonna be the clip. Fucking fuck off, Rich DeSilva. Nobody likes you.
All right, so we got another couple questions here. We'll try to hit them up. I've got another question from KR. I just want to try and pull that up on the live chat here. Live shows are taking on a different makeup. What do you know about the drive-in concerts that are starting to happen? Mike, what do you know about the drive-in concerts that are starting to happen?
It's just rumors spread by my opponents that I have nothing. I have no further comment. No, one of the things that I heard is that the sound is actually coming through the radio. You tune into a
that's
frequency,
cool.
that is cool as shit.
Yeah.
I mean, once again, great reason to have direct in guitar tone.
Oh
because,
yeah.
You know, that's what they're gonna be hearing. They're not gonna be hearing your amp. I mean, I guess there's some bleed through your car windows and shit, but
That's a great idea.
I don't know shit about them. And
Well, I could
you know, if,
do a quick shout out actually for the Harmonia Music Festival. All right, and this is happening. Let me make sure I get all the details right. This is a show that me and the Agenda Boys are going to be involved in here. And
I think you changed the name of the group to the Agenda Boys.
the Agenda Boys. All right, so you can get tickets on Eventbrite, and the show is the Harmonia Fest, HARMONIA Fest. It's a 4-week drive-in concert series in Milton at the Italian Cultural Center of Milton, 104 Tremaine Road in Milton.
Center.
And I'm performing with the boys for Leah Daniels, Nicole Ray, Alessia Cole, Bree Taylor, and Mackenzie Lee Meyer is also opening the
Mackenzie's
show
coming
on
too?
acoustic. And
Oh,
Susie Corey
okay.
is also opening the show on acoustic. So there's two
It would be a
acoustics,
treat to
acoustic
play.
acts, and then we're backing up 4 artists as a band because they don't want to switch musicians because of sanitary concerns and all that stuff. So
It's cool to have a house band. That's
yeah.
cool.
Yeah, it's gonna be
deal.
sweet. There's no changeover. We can just like really dig into. We'll have great sound because we get the whole sound check. That's all one
Yes.
band, so it'll be great. So this is on the 29th of August, next Saturday. If folks want to come check it out, and buy some tickets and support these great female artists. And
So it's
support.
called the Harmonia Festival because if women ran the world, we wouldn't have so much fucked up, stupid stuff going on.
You could go with that. Yeah. You could go with that. So yeah, come on by, support your boy
I don't actually believe that.
Al
Just,
here,
strap
and support these great female artists.
Why is it called the Harmonia Festival?
I don't know. I think it's referred to. Oh no, it is just this one night, the country night.
Oh, K-Row knows more about the show than you do.
Well, that's not
It's
surprising.
a fundraiser. What is it fundraising for? I mean, you
fundraiser.
know what? I'm gonna look it up.
Okay. Well,
Harmonia Festival.
anyways, so that's gonna be a drive-in show. I don't really know what it's gonna be like other than the people drive in and they watch, and yeah, if they're broadcasting on our radio frequency, that's pretty cool as well. But it's gonna be a great show, so I'm really excited for it. The lineup is stacked, and I'm excited to get up on stage and be able to play for some play for folks again.
Okay, well, there you go. That makes sense. Why it's all girls then? It's for like battered women, abused women shelter.
Oh, right on.
So it's for a good cause.
There
That
you go.
makes sense.
It's also for a
harmonious.
great cause. Right on. Oh, that's interesting. They didn't.
That's always funny. I play charity things sometimes too, and like, it's like I never know the details.
Yeah.
You know, like sometimes it's like it's for the kids, and it's like, well, what kids?
Well, I'm looking on the Eventbrite page, and it's not. It does not say that it's a fundraiser, but hey, that's even better.
Well, fuck it, it's for a good cause.
Even
so-
better. Come on out, folks. Enjoy some live music for the first time in 6 months. And I think the other thing that's cool actually is that they're doing. You can still get drinks and food and stuff. It's just you have to order it in advance. So
Oh wow.
on your way into the show, I'm pretty sure this is how it's going to work. Is like if you purchased food with your ticket, you just tell them on your way in, and they just hand you a box with the food and the drinks in it. So you never have to go. You don't have to go up and wait in line at a bar or whatever. Like, the idea is that you like stay as close to your car as possible. People aren't sort of wandering around and infecting each other with COVID, right? So
Yeah.
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 So that's the other cool thing is they've really thought of everything in terms of the social distancing aspects of the night. So looking forward to it. I mean, really good.
That'll be great, man.
All right.
That is always. I feel like charity-wise, I've not contributed to any like good causes. You know, like enough. You know, I
Right.
feel like my existence is very selfish. So when I play a gig and it's like, it's helping people, I'm like, I mean, I'm playing it because I'm a musician and trying to make a living, but it's like makes me feel like 2% better about myself.
It's a nice bonus for sure.
Yeah.
It's always inspiring to be a part of those types of things for sure. All right, what do you think? Should we hit up one more? I'll let you choose.
Yeah. I mean, this is a question by Mark. I always fuck up his name. Rankin. Like, I know that there's more. I'm saying Rankin. Is there an inflection that I'm missing?
I think it's just
you know what I mean?
Rinkin.
Rinkin.
Yeah.
Rinkin.
Rinkin. Yeah.
The problem that I get is I talk to different people and they say different things like, let's say Rankin,
Yeah,
Rankin.
I don't think it's Rankin. I think that's just what people default to because of the Rankin family. But I think
Okay, so it's
it's
Mark
more of like
Rankin.
a Rinkin. Yeah, but
I
hey,
like
you know
it,
what?
yeah.
I mean, I've known the guy for years, and maybe I'm saying it wrong right now, and I'm gonna feel like a jerk if I am.
Yeah. So he's a member of the Agenda. He's a bassist. He's also on the Harmonia Festival.
Yes, indeed.
So if you want to see him, then you know.
It's also on an
buy some
episode of this
tickets.
podcast from a few months
Yes.
back. Yeah.
I wish I knew the actual like numbers of these. I feel like that's like that's like a strategy for getting people to listen to all your podcasts. I just don't. I
Right.
don't
Well,
know the numbers.
just scroll up on your podcast app, you know.
Yeah. So hey Al, hey Michael, big fan of the show.
Thanks, Mark.
It would mean the world to me if you can each share your favorite story or stories from the road. You go first because I can't think of one.
Oh
You got
man, yeah,
anything?
throw this at me.
You're when your van broke down in that city when you guys
That's
were
true.
having
That's hard to beat. That is hard to
Yeah.
beat. Yeah.
Just tell that one while you're
Well,
thinking.
okay, so quick. We've told this one before, but just so I used to be in a band called Aberdeen. We were a pop punk band from Toronto, and we were trying to go on tour to play this show out in BC and do some stops along the way to sort of fill up the gas tank, hopefully make a little bit of money or whatever to pay for said gas. And we drove by the town of Dryden, Ontario, which has a paper mill. That's one of the main sort of things that's going on there. And if any of you folks are familiar with paper mills, they smell pretty bad depending on which way the wind is blowing. And so we smelled this scent and we didn't know what it was. We thought that our food in our cooler had gone bad. So we stopped, threw out a bunch of food that was totally fine, and then continued driving and broke down because our engine seized in our van, which if people don't know what that is, it's pretty much your vehicle is dead and there's no way to come back from that. So we got towed back to this town of Dryden, and the people there were super nice. We actually ended up getting our engine replaced, which was ridiculously expensive, and fortunately we had the support of our parents to bail us out of that one, and they were super kind to do so and help us out because we didn't really know how we were going to get home. We were about a day and a half drive away from Toronto with a bunch of gear and a trailer full of merch. So anyways, we ended up getting the engine replaced. We had to cancel all the dates on the tour because we had to be there for like a week while the van got repaired. And the people of the town were super nice to us. They all took us in, and we were staying at one of the GM dealership employees' houses for free. They just invited us to stay, fed us, and showed us around town, and we went to a couple of parties and stuff. And then we actually ended up playing a couple shows. They wanted to have us play, and we the highlight was we opened for a band called Stereos, which was a pop rock band from back in the day. If anybody remembers, those guys, they were.
I remember Stereos.
Yeah, they were on tour at the time, and they were stopping in at the Dryden Center for the Arts to do a show, and we actually got to open for them, and it was super sweet. So, and we will always remember. And I'm still in touch with some of the folks from out there, even like 10 or whatever years later. So, it was quite a heartwarming story for, what could have been a pretty huge disaster for us as a band. So there you go.
I know what story I want to tell. I just can't tell.
Does it involve a hotel room at the Emerald?
Yes.
After a show at Big Texas in St. Catharines?
Yes.
Yeah.
I was being put up. I'm not going to get into the full details of it. If you know me personally, or if you want to DM me.
Yeah. The people who know you know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I essentially, after a ridiculous night, many things that were ridiculous, we were being put up in a fucking like retirement home. I ended up naked in a bathtub full of ice, completely passed out. And that's it. That's all I can really tell you.
Yeah.
Just because, I don't know. I mean, it's vulgar as fuck. So,
yeah.
And that's coming from me.
Yeah.
Just trust me. Fill in the blanks.
Yeah.
This was a long time ago. I'm not that much of a wild man anymore. But yeah, it was a good night. I had a real good time.
Lots of memories from Big Texas, Niagara Falls.
Yeah, great joint.
In fact, we're gonna be chatting with somebody who was there, hopefully next week on this show.
Yeah.
So
oh shit.
we'll leave it there. We'll leave it there.
Yeah, we'll leave it there.
Is that? Do you want to hit any other questions, or do you think we're?
That's a good question. Oh wow, we got more questions. I didn't even see those. Taylor Preston, what is your best advice for beginning musicians and artists? Let's go with the joke one first, actually.
Okay.
Also from Taylor Preston. In a cage fight, who would win? Nicolas Cage is what it sounds like.
Nicolas.
Or The Cage. Nicolas Cage sounds like a European version of Nicolas Cage, more European.
Yeah.
But that's a good question. I mean, Nicolas Cage isn't particularly tough to my knowledge. He's just.
But he's crazy.
Yeah, he's fucked.
Like you can't underrate. You know, there's people with that. The people who have any amount of empathy in them, you know, they might take their foot off the gas pedal in a fight at any point because they're like, oh, I don't want to hurt this person. I don't want to, I don't want to really hurt this person. Nicolas Cage, you know, he watched the light go out. Like he's not afraid. You know what I mean? Like
something like that about
me. he you know, he wants it. So I would go with Nick Cage over anybody in a fight, I think.
Yeah, any inanimate object. So one of the things that you said about me, we were joking about who would win a fight. My brother is much stronger.
I remember that.
And so the whole idea was who would win in a fight, Will Hebbs or Michael Hebbs.
Right.
And you said, like, Will would be afraid to hurt me.
Yeah.
And I would just, you're just afraid of what I'm capable of.
Yeah.
My desire, my dark desires would win me.
Yeah.
So there's that. Who would win in a fight, Nicolas Cage or me? It's up for debate.
Oof.
You know.
My money would be on Nick Cage.
Well, it depends on the movie of Nick Cage, right? Like, he's a weaker man in some of them. Like certain ones, like Vampire's Kiss. That dude he eats a real cockroach in that movie.
Wow.
There's a fucking eating a real cockroach. It's a fucking mess. I mean, movies like there's Bad Lieutenant, where he's just a coked out cop, doing bad shit for the whole movie. It's a great watch.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to do a whole episode on Nick Cage,
maybe we should.
I'm familiar. I'm into it. I mean, it's not relevant to music, but it is.
My money would be on Nick Cage from oh no, I can't remember the name. Oh, Nick Cage from National Treasure. You'd get your ass kicked and you'd learn a thing or two about American history in the process.
He's just so put together in that movie. You know what I mean? Nick Cage in The Rock, Nick Cage in National Treasure, compared to like Nick Cage in what's a really deep cut one. What about Face Off, Nick Cage?
I haven't seen that.
Oh, dude, it's great.
Yeah.
Before him and Nick and John Travolta swap faces, that Nick Cage will fuck you up.
Yeah.
Anyways, to the real deal. What is your best advice for beginning musicians and artists? That is, beginning musicians so much different. Beginning artists so much different. Al, why don't you take this one? Because I've talked so much.
I feel like I've talked so much. I mean, it's a podcast. We've both talked a lot.
Yeah.
That's what we're here to do. I'm going to go with the same for both. Find
Give up.
people. Yeah, give up. Work at a bank. And then just buy all the expensive equipment later in life.
You still have a chance.
Yeah.
Don't squander it.
So find other people who are in the same position as you, in and around the same position as you in their career, in their life, in their level of experience, in their age, et cetera, et cetera. Get together with people and collaborate in whatever ways that you can. Start trying to build that team. And that will get you through so many tough situations that you're going to come across in your career, having that support of a team. And it's also going to help you find more opportunities and stuff because you guys can help each other out, right? So, like, if you're an artist, and we've said this before, it's like, don't hire if this is your first record, don't hire the $20,000 producer. Don't hire the $300 an hour session musicians. Like, hire people that are near you, are close to you in experience, who are hungry, who want to do the work, who want to get better, who want to learn, who want to build something with you. Get those people in your band, treat them well, as well as you can, obviously, and I mean financially. I mean, treat them super well as a human being, obviously, and build something. And likewise, if you're a musician getting started, find that artist who's getting started. They got a great voice, or they're really good at writing songs, or they're just a great person, or they got a great work ethic, or you really jive with them. You write, you maybe you co-write with them, and it sounds really good. And just try to do stuff. Don't worry about money. Don't worry about making tons of money. Don't worry about, try not to worry about that kind of stuff. Just try to
followers,
create and make music that you guys think sounds good, that you like, that you can get behind, and have fun with it. That's it. Build your team.
Advice.
Have fun.
I think that's the only thing I can add to that is we've said this before, just set your expectation, in terms of time frame and like just the idea. No, it's one of those things you should be acting as if this doesn't work out, then it's not the end of the world. You're doing the music for the sake of the music and enjoying the music, and you're not doing it to be successful. You know what I mean? Obviously you want to be successful, but I don't think your motivation in terms of songwriting should be like, oh, I got to make a hit for the radio, or like, oh, this person that I'm hiring, they have the sound that the radio likes, or, like, I think you should just be like, I'm going to hunker down for a long ass time, and I'm going to do this pretty much for the rest of ever. And if it becomes successful, which it will if you do it for a long time and continually, gradually get better, but your motivation should not be success. You know what I mean? Like your sole motivation.
Yeah. I mean, it depends what kind of success we're talking about. Because none of us, not me, not you, not the person starting out, not the person who's been doing it for 20 years, is entitled to any benchmark of success or any sort of you're not entitled to any gig, you're not entitled to any amount of followers online, you're not entitled to any radio stations picking up your track. So get that all out of your head and focus on the small wins. It's all about the small wins. If you get a new follower, if you get somebody who's comes to a show and says they really love your music, if you get somebody who buys one copy of your record, or shares your song on their profile, or like a podcast wants to use your music, or an internet radio station is going to give you a spin, like those are all victories. And like I would really encourage people to value those and thank those people profusely, because we don't inherently deserve to have those successes as artists. And likewise, if you're a player, be grateful and thankful for the people who hire you, and make sure that you're doing really great work for them, because you are not entitled to their gigs either. So that'd be a little bit of a more like a hard-edged answer, but yeah.
That's great. That's great advice. Yeah. And I mean, that's all shit we've said before. One thing that we are going to do at some point, I've decided, I haven't even discussed it with Al. I feel like when we reach a certain benchmark, maybe a year or maybe a certain amount of episodes, we should do a recap of the official message of the Music Guy podcast, all of the wisdom that we've come to through other people, and like just through talking and thinking through, because that's how you figure stuff out. You talk it out, right? Mm-hmm. There's one more question that we need to get to. Okay. Actually, sorry, two more questions in the chat.
Okay.
I know we're running long now.
Yeah.
But Rich Da Silva, it's a very serious question. I bought really good gear, but I don't have any gigs. What do I do? Question mark, question mark, question mark. What do you do, Al?
Buy more gear. Clearly you don't have enough.
Good question.
Yeah.
There we go. Second question. How many songs do I need to write before I can buy a boat? What are you thinking?
Just one.
There you go. Just one good song.
All you need is one. All you need is one hit, baby.
I mean, the dude who wrote "Buy Me a Boat," all he has is one hit.
Just one hit.
You has a boat. Yeah.
Probably does. Yeah.
We'll do some research on that.
Chris Jansen. Don't know why I know that name, but I do.
You've played it enough.
Good track.
I like that song.
Great track.
Good track.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's a skinny dude, though, eh?
I don't know. I don't know what he looks like.
He's wiry. Like, and that says a lot coming from me.
Right.
Rich says thank you.
You're welcome, Rich. Thank you for coming on and being a part of the live side of this podcast. It's awesome. It's awesome to have people coming in and chatting. Shall we wrap it up there?
I think that's it. Yeah, I think
That was a fun
solid Q&A. It was really fun.
Fun episode, as these always tend to be. 90 minutes on the nose right there, actually. That's perfect.
There you go.
So please send us more questions. We'll do a question every week. Send them to musicguypodcast@gmail.com on our contact form on our website if you want to do that instead, which I don't know why you would, but it's there. Or find us on social media and hit us up with your questions. And also hit us up with your songs. If you're an original artist or you're in a band or you work with an artist and you have the permission to do so and you want us to play said song, send it to us in all those ways we just mentioned, and we'd be happy to give it a listen and potentially play it on the podcast. In addition to that, you can check us out on YouTube, Music Guy Podcast. We got lots of videos, clips, live uncut podcast episodes, and tutorials and stuff like that. So we would appreciate you going over there and hitting subscribe if you like what we're doing on the show here. And you'll find me on social media, Alro Music, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, etc. And you can find Mr. Michael Hebbs at Bruno the Meek on Instagram, Hebbs_Michael on Twitter, and at michaelhebbs.net. And if you want to support the show, just go on and tell your friends about it, or give us a scathing review somewhere online or something that's going to get a lot of clicks. That would help us a lot. Until next time, thank you so much for listening. We love each and every one of you, and we really appreciate you supporting the show. We'll talk to you next week. Bye for now.